Today is April 16th, 2011. We're at the San Francisco Hilton, Union Square. I'm Karen Perrone, and I'm going to be talking with Leslie Straus, who is currently with Sky River and formerly from Innovative. Welcome.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay. Can you tell us what you did at Innovative for all those years?
All those years. I began my career at Innovative, working directly for Innovative in 1985. Prior to that, I was with Atlas, and this is in Toronto, Canada, where Atlas had a marketing agreement for this new little acquisition system. So to some extent, I guess I could say I've been with Innovative since 1982. However, in 1985, I was hired on as a trainer for Innovative, and that evolved into getting involved in sales and contracts and marketing, and I guess ultimately it evolved into being in charge of sales and marketing. And when I retired in 2006, I was Vice President Worldwide Sales and Marketing.
And you did a lot of traveling, too.
A lot of traveling throughout the U.S. and in latter years overseas, which was taxing but very, very, very exotic and interesting.
When the users group formed, did you have a role in that?
I think I did. Nobody, I guess, knows exactly when something is born when you're talking about organizations, but very early on, this would have been in the mid-'80s. There was this feeling that perhaps the users should get together, and this is before even thinking it could be a formal organization. I was asked by Jerry to see if I could coordinate a group of users at a hotel in Washington. Now, this was the law library users. I think similar things happened elsewhere around the same time with others, with Sandy and others doing the similar thing. But the first users group I would say I was involved with was this gathering of law library directors in a hotel suite in Washington, and we had drinks and conversation, and it was all very lovely.
And when the formal users group took place, what was your part of that?
At the beginning, when the formal users group was formed, I was still based in Toronto, Canada, so I wasn't involved in the overall organization, but I was very much involved in giving presentations, and this would have been probably the first two or three when the meetings were held in Berkeley. In Columbus, I remember too, early on. Now, as I moved to the Bay Area in 1995, my involvement got to be much more, and I would say in the late 90s, 6, 7, 8, 9, I was very involved in not just making presentations for Innovative, but working with the users group steering committee and helping with the planning.
I remember those weekly phone calls.
Oh, right. I think that was the time when the weekly phone calls started.
And what has Innovative's role been with working with the users group to form these programs?
I think that Innovative has always felt itself to be, Innovative has always felt it important to be involved and yet have the users be arm's length, in the sense the users have their own planning and ideas and be able to carry them out. So there has never been any doubt on Innovative's part. I'm absolutely sure that there shouldn't be huge involvement, but there has always been a sensitivity, I think, to the fact that this is a users group, and the the better the relationship and the autonomy of the users group with Innovative, the better the users group meetings are.
And dealing with the steering committee and program planning, I know there have been some issues along the way with programs that have been proposed and they didn't quite match company policy and things. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, yes, but I think overall the working with the steering committee and the program is, I would hate to say it, pure fun, but it was really quite a creative process. And occasionally, when I think maybe I could count on the fingers of one hand, if a program came up, or a suggestion came up that we didn't think was absolutely appropriate, because of this relationship, I at least felt pretty comfortable just talking about it and talking it through, and I never really felt that there was every situation where I didn't think we could come to some sort of resolution. So it's funny, I just remember the whole process as being very collegial.
Talk about some of your memorable conferences.
Well, I remember on your little checklist you had suggested that I try to think of the most memorable, and I'm glad you phrased it that way because I don't have a most memorable. There are several. I guess early on, conference in Claremont, at the Claremont in Berkeley, I remembered that it was certainly a joy in general, but also remember how hectic it was because in those early days, laptops were not that prevalent, let me say, and we had to share them. And I remember quite clearly, with Sandy Westall's help, having to have a little itinerary on each laptop, and then having to make sure the laptop was in the right place along with the person. And in the days before flash drives, you had to make sure the laptop had the right set of slides on it. And in those days before wireless internet and all of that, you needed to make sure that if there was going to be any kind of live demonstration that the network connection worked. That's a lot of coordination to do when there are back-to-back meetings, and I'm not even sure that there were half-hour breaks between the programs then. It was a mad rush. I remember those, the 2 or 3 earlier meetings being like that, but the one I remember, I think, was the first one at the Claremont, where we were in a state of panic most of the time.
I think some of those early program schedules too were kind of strange. There were some half-hour sessions and.
That's right. We. I would just say it's a wonder it all worked, but everyone seemed to enjoy them, meaning that they felt that these conferences and the programs were worthwhile, and I think that tradition is just carried right through to today. So that's one memorable conference. I would say I'm trying to do this in chronological order, and I don't know whether I do have it that way, but Nashville I remember as very memorable from the fun point of view and also from the hectic point of view. I had a fairly large role in that one and needed to give one of the presentations, the all-conference presentations, and I remember coming to Nashville with a temperature. I was really not well. And I remember being extra careful that you're to write out all my remarks just in case I had to hand them to an understudy while I went to bed. But anyway, managed to get through that. And then somehow, miraculously, I think these things, the adrenaline and just the excitement of having folks around, cured me. And I had a wonderful time, including going to the, is it the Wild Horse Tavern?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Mhm.
And learning how to step dance. That was a lot of fun. And then after that, I'd say the third one I would like to mention is the IUG at Santa Clara, and that was the inaugural appearance of In Musica. And I'd like to take some credit for that because I had for years thought and known about the musicians that are part of Innovative and part of the users group. Just you, Karen, for one, knowing that you played the flute. I knew of a couple people at Innovative played the violin. I knew about Greg McCall playing the bass. And how are we to get these people together? Fred Gertler, violin. It finally, thanks to you, took shape
Well,
in Santa Clara.
I said I was chair, and if you wanted it, we were going to do it. So.
Yeah. And I remember the great honor. I was invited to sit with you. That picture is still one of my very favorite pictures. And the sheet music that you presented to me, which hangs in my office. And I remember the music being so wonderful by the pool, only to be interrupted by a huge, heavy jet. Now, who could have thought that the Santa Clara Hotel was on the flight path to San Jose Airport? But anyway, it turned out, I think there were multiple flybys. But anyway, it was memorable. It was wonderful.
Okay. Do you think the IUG is still relevant?
I do. Now, keep in mind I retired in 2006, so I haven't really been part of the programming. Well, I have been, but not nearly as I was. I believe so, just from watching folks, listening to them, hearing the remarks after meetings as they come through to the exhibits. I think it's very relevant still.
What kind of changes have you seen in the users group or the users or the whole structure of the conference since the early days?
I think the major change is that it is a much more professionally organized conference. There are so many good enhancements. And talk about enhancements. The process of moving from the kind of chaotic, get together in Berkeley and not, being able to fit people into rooms when the programs were popular, or having cavernous rooms when the programs were not well attended. All of that seems to have been, really looked after and very professionally. So if there are any changes at all, they've been for the better.
So why do you think the IUG has thrived over the years? And
It's the people. There is no question in my mind. It's the people in both groups, and the fact that the IUG is a place where the vendor side and the customer side are not distinct entities. There are all kinds of blurred lines. I know there are many friendships that have been created through the IUG, and there is this real feeling of collaboration and collegiality, and it's sincere. And people know that when they get together, you can tell if somebody is really there to be constructive and helpful. And I think this is the case with the customers, Innovative's customers, and with Innovative staff. And it's really quite a joy to see, and I have never seen that flag in all of these years. I can't believe it's almost 20, but it has always been present, and I think that is the bottom line, the reason. It's the humanity of the thing.
what do you think is the difference between our group as opposed to another vendor's group? don't know if
I
you've
guess
had
I can't
much.
really, I can only speak from hearsay, but from what I am told, it is this sensitivity and the autonomy of the users group from, feeling that it is, marching to some directives, some other corporate directives. I think that there really is this feeling that it is a joint venture, and it really isn't driven by one or the other group.
And we appreciate that. If you could see the IUG or Innovative change any aspect of how this well-greased machine is working these days, what would you suggest?
You know what? I would suggest no change.
No change.
Maybe this is age speaking. However, I say that because I think the challenge is in keeping it this way. Since the first user group meeting, I can't tell you how many people I used to look forward to seeing have retired. And there's a whole new generation of people here, and so far, at least, I feel that the tradition and the spirit is continued. But that's, when you go through from generation to generation, there's going to be change, not just in attitudes, but in the technology and all of that. So, if anything, I think the focus should be on not changing the spirit.
So no streaming webinars or anything?
I think you've got to still have the people interacting. And maybe if there is a change, because the technology is so wonderful, maybe expanding the reach of the IUG through technology. So yes, you still have a place where as many people as possible can come, but also a place where if you can't come, and that is getting to be a reality for many people who can't afford to come to these things, for those folks to at least be part of it in a virtual way. That's actually a great idea, Karen. I think maybe expansion, a virtual expansion.
Are there any other memories that you'd like to share with us, or people you've met over the years? Or?
I guess, probably if you gave me a couple more hours to think about it, and maybe as soon as this is done, I'll think about 3 or 4 other memories. But I guess I just have to say this, the years in this in this community have been so rewarding, and that is because there are so many wonderful customers that I have met and have really made my life so much fuller.
And we're glad to have had you with us for so many years.
Well, I hope to be around, but I do hope to retire again.
Well, thanks for spending some time with us today.
You're really welcome. Thank you.